Hello there! Welcome! This is like my second or third attempt, so apologies if you've been waiting for me to come online. Hi, replay viewers. Today we are talking about whether you should charge the same price to everybody that is your client, okay? And I don't believe that you should. So I'm going to talk in this about why that's the case and, you know, what the impact of doing it and what to do instead. Because there is a way that you can charge different prices and still have integrity, okay? Because I know nobody wants to be ripping anybody off, but that was the implication from this person. So first of all, please share this out. I am having some issues with my internet, and something is going on that I'm not able to share this out. My Facebook isn't coming up, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. So please share this out for me. Okay, so just in case you don't know me, my name is Doyle. I'm the founder of creativeflow.tv, and I help creative business owners to achieve their goals faster, more profitably, and with creative flow, so that they can create work that fills their heart with pride, okay, and that feeds their soul. So that's what I'm all about. And I've been getting quite into doing more live streaming, and I was on Periscope this week, and I saw this expert, who does, some kind of marketing, business consulting, etc. And they were telling, somebody was asking about pricing. So of course my ears pricked up, because I have a real interest in that, and that's something that I help people with. And it was really interesting. So they were saying, well, what I tell all my clients and what I do is, to me, it doesn't matter what the size of the company is that I'm working for, I always charge the same price. And they were implying that you'd be ripping bigger companies off if you charged more money. But I've got a completely different perspective on that, okay? So let me just imagine this, okay? Imagine that there's a painting, you have an original painting, okay? And it's a big, massive thing, okay? So bigger than this whole wall behind me, right? And so that artist has put in a lot of time and effort into creating that painting. And then there's also a print of that painting, and maybe the print is like, I don't know, say the print is like the size of a book, okay? And they buy that, and it's what they can afford, and they love the picture, so they're getting some benefit from it. And then the person who buys the massive original painting, it spoke to them, they are able to afford it. To them, it's a real investment in the future. They take that home. They probably have a bigger property so that it can be showcased, okay? It can be, imagine that it's in their hallway, but maybe they have a kind of double height hallway. It's lit properly, it's protected from the sunlight. Every time that people walk by, they see that because it's the centerpiece. It's a nice kind of minimalist type house, etc. And imagine the print, okay? So the print, is loved by the person who takes it. They take it home to their property, which is probably a smaller property because they bought the most that they could afford at that time, and they put it in their hallway. Except maybe it's not lit properly, maybe it's kind of not too far away from all the family photos going up the stairs, maybe it's opposite a window. And they love it, and they get value from it, and the person who has the original painting, they also get value from what they're doing. But here's the difference, is that several years down the line, maybe the print has faded because it's been in the sun, okay? So it isn't kind of giving the same value anymore. And also they've redecorated the house, so they're like, oh, this doesn't match, and it's not quite the look we're going for anymore. So and it was maybe along that time they kind of lost sight of it because things maybe got a bit cluttered or something, and so it didn't stand out in the way that the one that was all set and lit and all the rest of it kind of stood out and continued to give value, day after day, week after week, year after year. And go a few years further down the line, does that print even still exist anymore in that house? Maybe they've recycled it or thrown it out, or it's in a cupboard somewhere. because it can't be used in the same way. Okay. Now the original painting, on the other hand, perhaps that's appreciated in value. Maybe it's worth twice as much as what was paid for it. Maybe even way more than that if the artist has actually been lucky enough to kind of really make it. And it actually is. Now, it's an inheritance piece, you know, it's an heirloom that can be passed down generation after generation. Now, look, value is not all about the money, but the point I want to make is this, that a larger company has got more opportunity to leverage the work that you do for them. So if you work, you know, business to business, and say maybe you do some work for startups and you do some work for larger companies, you're going to find it very hard to kind of straddle those if you are paying, if you have the same price being paid. And here's some of the reasons, right? Okay, so the chances are, in order, you're going to have your price lower than it could be to cater for the smaller companies, the ones that just don't have the money to invest. So let's say we're talking about design, okay, a logo. And so that means you're charging less for every job that you do. And that means that it's not going to have the same value. Now, of course, there will be exceptions, there always is. But the majority of the time, the people who pay £500 for a logo compared to the people who pay 5,000 or 50,000 for a logo, or pounds, dollars, whatever currency you're in, it's going to be a different experience, isn't it? And so what you want to be able to do is, you know, those people, because they don't value it as much and because they have different values around money and time and things, they want every little thing. They want to squeeze as much out of that 500 as they can. And that can lead to you working with clients who are very demanding, who want you to over-deliver, who expect a lot for not very much, and say things like, oh, it'll only take a few minutes, won't it? Because they don't have a concept of what the value is. Whereas the bigger company, like the art collector, understands the value, understands not just the time, but the expertise that went into creating that massive original painting. And they understand the expertise that goes into the work that you do as well. Plus, they are able to leverage that more. So, you know, if you're that their brand has a much bigger impact. You do a good job on their branding, they bring in more sales. That's worth a lot more to them than it is to the startup. And I'm not saying startups shouldn't have good branding, okay? But I'm just talking about the return on investment. That is very, very different, okay? So that's one issue around it. The other issue is that for you personally, you are going to be a lot less profitable, okay, for two reasons. One, you're making less money on every sale that you do. The other reason is because you are going to make less sales. Because the bigger companies who are happy to make an investment when they know they're going to get a return on that investment, they are way, way, way less likely to buy from you. Now, I've had this with several clients recently, and you know, they admitted that because they were charging so little, they had lost clients. They just hadn't thought of it that way before. And so the thing is that when a high-paying client looks at a low-priced offer, and I'm not talking about a low value offer, I'm talking about a low priced offer, that will lead them to either think you don't know what you're doing and why would they trust you, or even if you have demonstrated your value to them and they think you're good at it, they're not going to trust in the sustainability of your business model because they understand all the costs that go into you delivering it. And so, you know, so they are less likely to buy from you, okay? Because they're just that trust is not going to be there. So the other thing is that if you're not charging enough money, not just to cover your bills, but also to cover your marketing costs, being able to outsource the things that you're maybe not as good at or don't enjoy, that help you to be in flow, not having to do those things, then, you know, that means you have less time to actually do the work that you love. And it also stunts your growth. So these are all the things that are happening to you, but they're also happening to the people buying from you, okay? So those high value clients are missing out on, like, those high paying clients are missing out on the expertise and your particular set of skills and value and your way, your perspective of doing things. So this is not about me saying you can't do it. Of course you can, but you're going to have much, much less opportunity to do it. Now look, I know there might be exceptions, and please feel free to comment, if you have found that things to be different than that. But the thing is that the vast majority of the time I have found this to be the case. And not only that, okay, so let me talk about the solution, right? So the solution is value-based pricing. And this would allow you to have a lower value, lower priced offer that you could still have for those smaller clients. Or you could just stick with the larger clients if that's who you enjoy working with, and you could then do some pro bono work for the people who actually prove themselves to be deserving of it. Okay, because of course there are times when people are in a startup or early stage of their growth and they don't have the money to invest, but it would make a massive difference to them. So if you choose to, because you're much more profitable, you could then say, okay, I'm going to have one pro bono client a quarter or a month, however way, whatever way you want to work it. Maybe you decide, actually, I'm particularly interested in this cause, so anyone who's related to this cause, then I will help them. So that's one way that you can do things. I mean, in fact, you could even make it part of your marketing, that people apply for a scholarship, and that helps you get the word out. I might even do that myself, actually. So that's one thing that you can do, because you've got to have those different priced offerings. I'm not talking about you kind of cluttering up your business with lots and lots and lots of different offers if things aren't working well for you already. Okay, so you need to be careful about kind of spreading yourself too thin. But this is the other thing, is that when you are putting together a high value offer for those high paying clients, you really do your research and you really figure out what they need. And quite often what I found is that means my clients are putting together a different offer for the high paying clients with things that the low paying clients wouldn't actually appreciate or value, or maybe they just don't even need it. So, and that means that your offer is much more relevant for those high paying clients. Plus, because you have got more scope to market to them, then it allows you to be able to choose different ways of reaching them. It means that you can put in place a proper sales funnel, and that means you've got a much higher conversion rate. Okay, and this is really key. Some of my clients I've been working with recently, their conversion rates are going through the roof, but they were getting lots of no's before because their price was so low. People were thinking, the bigger companies were actually going, well, either, it can't be that hard if it's only X amount. We'll do it ourselves. So we'll do it in-house. We'll just find somebody else to do it who can do it even cheaper. They're not appreciating the work that you do for them. So the level of input that you can have for a higher paid client can be much higher. So the other thing is that this then allows you to really increase your revenues. You're making more sales, your conversion rates are higher, you have got more money to actually market yourself. Also, your profitability is much higher. You're not going to be dragged into that epidemic which is going on in the creative industries at the moment of undercharging and over-delivering, and that's really led by a lot of those crappy cheapskate clients. Now I know there's always exceptions, there'll be lovely people who just don't have the money. That's not the kind of person I'm talking about, but I've just seen it so much with clients time and time again where they end up in this situation with their clients, and that means they haven't got the time to be able to work on attracting the people that they would really love to be working with. Okay, so I have a question for you. Okay, if you have had value, okay, from this free training that I have given you now, then what I would like to do is to invite you to get a free guide. And this free guide is the #1 surefire strategy to raise your prices without pushback. Okay, so I've already talked about some of the things here, but this goes into it in much more depth. and it is free, and you got the opportunity there to sign up, and I even have a free workshop that you can go and learn even more about this and how would you actually go about getting those higher paid clients. And I can't get onto Facebook at the moment to put the link on, so I'm going to have to add it afterwards. So please bear with me with this. So have you had value from this? What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Comment and let me know. Okay, I want to, I believe everybody has a right to have an opinion, and I'd be happy to have a discussion with you about it. So comment, what's your experiences? Have you been caught by this feeling of, well, I don't want to rip people off, but what I want you to understand is, it's not about ripping people off. It's about delivering value to people. And what people value and how much they value it at varies depending on your customers. I'm a firm believer that whatever is important to you, whatever value you have to deliver, there's a way to do that that is really profitable. So if your heart is with working with those smaller price clients, you can definitely do that. But, trying to deliver exactly the same thing to small price clients and to high price clients, you're going to find it really challenging to do that successfully. Okay, and if you found a way to do it that is successfully, great, let me know. Maybe that's something I will share with some other clients that might find it relevant. But most clients that I've been working with, they are not finding that works for them. And so they need to take this other approach of value-based pricing. Okay, I am going to stop it there. Remember, give me some hearts. Let me know that you've appreciated this. Please tag a friend who could do with it. Share it out and make sure to click the link when I add it to get yourself your free guide. All right, have a great rest of the week and I will speak with you again soon. Bye.